Greetings, class. This project is on the job talk on education. Let's see. So describe the description of the learning environment you design or physical environment and resources within the environment. So here's my spin, guys. So the physical environment of the classroom or lecture room should be, I believe, thought out carefully and arranged. Moreover, the physical arrangement will create a smooth transition in the classroom and organization of a classroom. And it also implements safety, which is very important. Also, the classroom that is well defined as far as like physical arrangement, it appears to be very organized. Will promote positive learning environment. By that being said, a well thought out physical arrangement is important in any type of special education setting or any education setting as far as college, middle age, high school, elementary. Um, a well planned, thought out classroom is very important. Moving on. Now, strategies you use to create this environment. So, what I'm going to go through is what I believe. I believe that an arrangement of an area for recreation or lectural activities, it should look different than the areas that's used for academic work. For example, tables used for small groups instructions is also used for recreation. Lectures or activities, you can change the setting up by, use as an example, by putting a tablecloth on it during recreation, time, or just to make it look less academic, to where it's not looking like we're in the same setting because we're in the same classroom for hours, right? This helps students, for me, implement and learn change. So you know how in elementary school you're pretty much mostly in the same classroom. Middle school, it kind of changes up a little bit where you go to certain classes throughout the day, but high school or college per se, it's all different, right? So by me implementing this, I believe if I was teaching elementary school, I would implement this just to teach them the changes. And hey, we're in science class now. Now we're changing from science to social studies. So, or we're done with story time, so we're changing the setting from us as a group in a circular position in the front of the classroom, for example, on the carpet together, reading out, reading certain passages out loud with each other. Now we're sitting at the desk, but now we're done with math. So now we're gonna put the desk together, create like a little table with a few people in different sections. Um, you know what I mean? Just to change the environment for the different lesson that's being taught. So I'm a very firm believer in that. Also, I believe that you want your students to anticipate what type of activity is going on and what's taking place, was basically what I said, and the types of behaviors that are expected. So by you doing this, depending on where they are in the classroom, you would expect a different type of a set of behaviors, like a game time versus like small group times and this and that. And then if you'll be able to point out different behaviors also during these changes, which makes a more positive work environment as well. So one of the things that I included in my strategies was I believe in making a list. You can't have a classroom or develop a classroom without you creating this list that demonstrates like, like draw, like I would draw like the shape of the classroom, different, where I would like to place the furniture, right? Then electrical outlets, because I now have to figure out where the internet connections are, like, and how I want to place my classroom versus that and plus that, right? Then create a furniture arrangement. You can use a grid planning, like I would do, what you would need. You know what I mean? I would do that. Plus, make notes of students that prefer to work on computers versus ones that prefer like more hands-on, versus ones that like those they like to listen and learn, like those verbal books or like things of that sort of nature, or certain individuals that are solitary learners. There also, I added on here a forteachers.org, which is a good website for teaching. So during my military career, I have taught a lot of classes, and so some of my strategies and stuff that I put in place or learned was actually from the forteachers.org, where you can actually go on there and you can create your own like little presentation where you can actually move things around to see if this works, like before, you can plan ahead, like physically too, on a grid, like that way. Moving on. So, factors. So, one of the questions that was asked, right? Factors in this particular classroom or training room will influence students' learning, lesson plans, health education, and incorporate training workshops, right? So, this next slides that I'm going to demonstrate here is going to be different factors on what I believe are important factors to so you're able to implement, what you got in the training room, how you can influence your students to learn, what my lesson plans are, education, health education or planning, and so on and so forth, or workshops or workstation plans or whatever have you not. So let's get into it. So now getting into it, right? One of my factors is that increasing learning and environment is safety. Physical safety is safety physically, mentally, and your overall health. So by that being said, I believe that students have, they should have individual desks or sit up tables or proper size chairs, desks, tables is very important. Like as I mentioned earlier, students should be able to sit. You got to be able to sit with your feet flat on the ground, right? That's human safety, right? That's part of physical safety, right? Knees should be bent at a 90-degree angle, elbows resting on desktop. This allows for proper positioning and it helps students maintain time task without fatigue. So when you're sitting improper, like as we learned as we got older, when you're sitting, you slouch or whatever have you not, it actually makes you more tired. When you're improperly sitting, it also makes you more irritated, or your legs fall asleep, or so on and so forth, because you're not sitting in a proper way, right? Also, safety exits to include visual signs and easy access to exit in an emergency. This is also includes, say you have a tornado warning, the students should be able to get under their desk in a timely manner and a good manner without hurting themselves or something in a way to cause them to fall and so on and so forth. Also with internet connections and things of that sort of nature where you don't have wires everywhere, so on and so forth. So I believe in safety too is very important, right? Fire extinguishers, make sure they have the proper date, the proper tag. I've been places where I've been where I've seen you may have a fire extinguisher but it don't work or it don't have anything in it. So make sure you double check those type of things, make sure the maintenance has been done on those properly. Also many factors, which I include also into this environmental factor thing. Factors must be considered determining, like I call it like more of a home base. So if I'm teaching third grade, to me, my classroom is their home base. Is their home base, right? This is where, hey, this is your desk. This is where your locker is. This is where your belongings pretty much is, right? Your little favorite snacks and your cubby, so on and so forth, right? So you want to make sure that you have like and then you have certain sections where, for example, like if you had behavior issues of students grabbing materials from other students' desks or touching other students or exiting the classroom without permission, like certain things, right? You want to make sure that you have certain things in place, certain rules in place, visual, so they can see it, also implemented it to them. Also make it to where their desks, they feel some type of safety if they have learn how to have a combination lock or, just certain things of that sort of nature. Something to identify that it's there. It's proper labeling, right? I'm going to get more into that. Also, the size of your classroom, your shape is important. Permanent fixtures, sinks, kitchen, appliances, restroom, built-in cabinets or shelves, like I was mentioning about the students having their own little cubbies and things of that sort of nature. Identification. So going more into this second factor, like I said, proper labels with structure for clear and concise instructions. To me, this is very important when planning, right? So the student area, like at the table, like is made more specifically. You can make a color tape. You can which I kind of liked, or you can define boundaries between each individual student or a space. Um, More often, each student has their own desk, chair, which is their home of basis. This is their foundation, right? While they're at school, for students in wheelchairs, a wheelchair desk is used, but but see, I'm more of, we'll get into that later, where everybody looks equal, where everything looks normal, where they don't feel out of place or feel like they're different. I want everyone to feel, we're all human in here, right? Um, also, um, Also what I like about a student having their individual desk, like if I were teaching that, like I said, like elementary school wise, right? Third grade, fifth grade. Um, I believe that it's a place where a student can independently work. I believe that when you have your own desk, you have your own little, environment, then now you have to learn how to maintain your own stuff. So it's actually teaching them a little bit for the future as well, you know? And you'll feel like it's yours, like it's a safe place. So say you don't want to sit, you know, DD, you can go back to your desk, you know, and it's your desk, right? Properly labeled with your desk, saying, you know, identifying that this is your desk. Proper labeling as again, make sure like even when they have the cubbies, it's properly labeled so they know that it's theirs. That's where they go, right? Okay, so that's another thing. Also, one of my third factors in lesson planning and structure, right? How many students do you have? Very important. You gotta ask these questions. That's what I believe. You know, how many students do you have? Do you know, do I need various chairs or size? You know, because this helps you with chairs, desks, accommodations, things of that sort of nature, right? Do we need the students have specific medical needs, such as wheelchairs? You know, some may have standards, some may have, you know, have to have a privacy screen. You know, some may can't see, you know, visual. You know, they may, you know, so you may have to sit them closer to the class, you know, closer to the front or wherever you know you're mostly giving your presentations is what I feel. If you need special equipment, where you're able to store it just in case that occurs. Do any of the students need, you know, to need to separate their work or whatever have you not? So I just look at all that kind of stuff. Another factor I believe in during my structure and planning and creating my own classroom space. By the way, this picture in here is one of my classrooms that I actually like if I was giving a lecture hall, like if I was in like a college. I actually like this setup. But anywho, so workstations, I believe in you should have a few desks, you know, separate from the classroom, just in the back, like a workstation, you know. And I believe that this is a phenomenal thing to have. Because I believe that a workstation, you know, places individuals begin tasks. They do their tasks, finish their tasks, but put and finish, take away, do need for assistance. I believe that a workstation can help students that are solitary learners. So you know how you have different types of learners. We all talked about that throughout this whole semester. So some solitary learners, they may be where, hey, I went through this in class, whatever have you not. Now that I have, say I have basketball practice or I have cheerleading practice or, you know, so on and so forth, you should be able to have where they're able to do work at their workstation where it's a long process, where it's like a desk that's solitary to itself, where they can actually work on their homework, their projects, things of that sort of nature or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like private time for studying, because some students may not have access to this at home. For whatever reason, right? Because you can't control what students you get and where they come from or how they, what they're brought up in, what their household is like. You can't control that. You only get them when they come in for a while, you know? So I think that's something good to have. Um, my one of my favorite setups, like as far as lecture courses, like I talked about the last one, but also like this classroom here down here at the bottom, the wheelchairs, accessible for wheelchairs. I like that picture because all the desks are the same. There's nothing different, so they should, so they don't feel awkward. If everyone's sitting in the classroom, we're all looking face ahead, right? No one would ever notice. Not saying that don't notice them individuals, but it's the simple fact that you don't feel indifferent. I want everyone to come to my classroom and feel 100% across the board fair, right? So I believe that the setups are very good at setups, you know what I mean? And also, the open projectors. I like that. What I liked about the classroom above that classroom is the projectors, the boards. They're all across the classroom. I like it. Why I like it? You change up the setting. You may talk about this over here. You may turn around and talk about this back there, this and that. The only thing I probably will incorporate is I add more color to the classroom. You know what I mean? Also, more informational stuff probably around the classroom. But other than that, like, I say this because, like, say you want to play cards or like Uno, and I say Uno, not saying you're going to play Uno per se, but it may be like a educational Uno that you've incorporated into one of your lessons to make it more fun, more interesting, but it's a game. You know what I mean? So I like the setup because it looks more homey per se. It looks more relaxed, but at the same time, it's like, hey, you know. So I kind of like it because it's different. Um, but that pretty much like concludes what I believe and what I feel to create a structural teaching environment and creating, a classroom environment. Um, this next slide here is my references. I really enjoy enjoyed this lecture with you guys. Hope to see you in the future.